Hello again. Welcome to A Quiet Life. My name is Starla. Yesterday I shared about 12 years ago what God had done in my life, and He delivered me from depression. A year after that, He began to deliver me from fear and control. It was a process that He had started in my life. Actually, He had started it. I'd been crying out to Him for quite a long time. But when we had ended up in a church and a youth pastor was going through some own things and God began to do a work in his life, he began to teach the youth what God was doing. And we were very active in the youth group with our kids because we had 3 teenagers. And it really spoke to me. And through a process of yielding, surrendering, brokenness, God brought me to a point of really living from Him and knowing Him intimately and many other things. But that was a wonderful thing to begin with 12 years ago, to deliver me from depression and so I could feel it, to heal it, and things like that. But last night I was watching a video, and as you can see, I've been at work. My hair's pulled up. Maybe one of these days I'll post a video where my hair actually looks good instead of just getting out of the bed like yesterday morning, or I don't know, something like that. But last night I was walking on my treadmill because I was wanting to go out for a walk. I'm trying to get my running back up, my walking back up, all that back up to maybe not where I used to be, but a little bit better. And had to stay in because it was raining, so I pulled my treadmill out. I hadn't used it in 7 months, 6 months, and I watched a show on Netflix. And the show was called The Long Goodbye, and it was about Kara Tippett, I'm sorry, Kara Tippett. And it was just very, very sweet documentary, basically, about her death and how she was dealing with her dying from breast cancer, where it just had went all over her body, how her husband did, how her children did. And it also talked about her friends. Her brother and sister was on there, but her friends were on there and how it affected her friends. And her husband is a pastor, and where the church family came together. And as I was walking on the treadmill, I realized this is it. Yesterday I talked about how this year God had been preparing the soil, and for whatever reason, sometimes you have that moment, and it was at that moment God was saying, "This is it, Starla. Pay attention. Listen to me." And as I was walking, I began to realize, and she was talking about her friendships, and they were talking about this deep, intimate, abiding relationship with Christ. And I thought, you're wanting me to get back to where I used to be, in that sense. Not so much teaching again, but relationships and love. And some things I had jotted down while I had, after I finished the treadmill but was finishing the movie, was this whole year, even early back in February, I asked the Lord, what about, you know, the calling on my life? And as a matter of fact, I've got a note here. See if I can find it. It was earlier in the year. It was in February. Let me just read what I had put in this note. I was at church at Northside, and I was just praying, and I asked the Lord to reaffirm my calling. This was on February 24th. And then the Lord just totally came back to me, and He said, my gifts and calling are irrevocable. So whatever calling He has called in your life, and the one that He really spoke to me early on in this journey was from Acts, where it says, stand in the temple, go and stand in the temple and tell of the whole message of this life, and this life being Jesus. And it's the whole message of Jesus, not just that He forgave us from our sins by dying on the cross, but what all He did do on the cross, what all He accomplished on the cross and through the cross for us. And that is what God has called me to do, to share these truths of what He did on the cross for us. Um, my favorite verse is Galatians 2:20. I've been crucified with Christ. I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. And the life I live in this physical body, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave Himself for me. And this year, I've been really being immersed in His love, who loved me and gave Himself for me. And that whole verse encompasses what God has been speaking into me this year, what He's constantly speaking into me, not just this year, but the last 10 years, the last 12 years, even the whole time, the 19 years that I've been saved, that He has done a mighty work in me, not just forgiving me of my sins, but He's done a work inside of me. Through the cross, He put my old man to death, and He gave me a new inner man, and He lives in that inner man, and I have everything I need for life and godliness because I have Jesus living within me, and I'm brand new, to boil it all down. But sometimes you get in a little rut, and you go back to believing the lies and thinking the lies, and you forget, and you allow the lies to kind of control you. And maybe that's what I was doing, because where I was at, I was thinking, you want me to do something, you want me to do something for you. And we're told that all the time, what are you doing for the Lord, and all that. And I was asking Him, reaffirm my calling. And He did. He said, look, my gifts and calling are irrevocable, Starla. And He created me for His purpose and for His glory. And for Him. For Him. For Him to enjoy me, to be pleased with me, to love on me. I was created for Him. And yeah, there are purposes, there are things that we will do, but the most important thing is my intimacy and relationship with Him. And to affirm that, it's crazy. Pastor Mark that was there, this is what he said to me, that same service. God just gave me a word for you, especially Sister Starla. I know you're wondering what God has for you, but God has a special anointing and calling on your life. And that calling is wherever you go, not at Northside, not at Bethlehem. His calling on your life is not a place. He is the calling on my life. He's the gift. He's the one that's irrevocable. So, fast forward here we are, August, and I've just kind of been going along, doing the things, helping Nick. We've been working on all these various things. And throughout all of that, the Lord is just telling me, be. And I'm like, how can I just be, But anyway, last night, he brought me back to, go back to your calling, back to what I love. Because I love sharing these truths. I love loving on other people, especially with these truths. And back to fellowship. Back to fellowship. And when I was walking on that treadmill, I felt that spark of joy. And I prayed that that spark would turn into flames of joy and floods of joy. And it was. And some other things I wrote down is live with joy this life. A lot of people don't live this life with joy. And He wants us to, because He is joy. That is one of the fruit of the Spirit. He lives within us. He Himself is our joy. So, and to love others and to love with joy. And Ann Voskamp said last night on the documentary, you love as well as you're willing to be inconvenienced. Whoa. I'll be honest with you. Lately, this summer, this time, I've not wanted to be inconvenienced. I've wanted to just work with my hands, mind my own business, and live a quiet life. And that's what we've done. And then this is what Kara Tippett said. Allow Jesus to love you so much it spills into others. There's a lot of walking wounded out there. Really. A lot of people that have walked like I have. And they're exhausted. And they just want somebody to come up to them and encourage them and speak words of life into them. Not give advice, but just speak words of life and joy and truth into them. Be encouraged. And many, many times the scripture tells us to encourage one another, to bear one another's burdens, and to love one another. Like, it's talking from a husband and a wife, but as like Christ loved the church. But we should do that, all of us, to love one another in that way. And it was said of Kara Tippett, she allowed Jesus to love her and then loved everyone in front of her. And God really began to say, it's time. Here we go. And to open my home. And I don't have a big living room. I don't have a big area. I don't have a big parking area. But I felt for sure He wanted me to open my home. And I woke up so joyful this morning. Even though it was so sad to watch what Kara Tippett went through and her family went through on this life. I know she's on the other side. I know she's with Jesus, and the joys that are before her are unbelievable compared to the suffering that she suffered on this earth. But what I got out of that was her true friendships. Her friends loved her and loved her well, and she loved her friends well. And I feel like God has called His daughters to love one another well, to be vulnerable in love, to share our joys and our sorrows, to share each other, to share us, to share ourselves. And I heard it preached yesterday that He who began a good work in you will complete it. And that's another verse He's really been speaking into me. He began a good work in me, He will complete it. And I feel like that's something that He kind of did last night when He began to speak in me. He started the completion of what He's been doing in me, the soil, preparing the soil. Now He's getting ready to plant. And that's very exciting. I did not expect that. I did not expect that yesterday at all. I don't know. So some things that I jotted down was, Father, I believe You want me to open our home this fall to ladies. What matters the most to me? It's that others have a beautiful, intimate relationship with Jesus. And I think that's what He wants. Peace, joy, encouragement, fellowship, hope, contentment, love, to be loving. And then it's just weird how it's all worked out this year. The songs that I've repeated over and over and over on my radio, or not my radio, but YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, Alexa, whatever, has been At the Table by Josh Garrels and Home to Me by Jason Upton. My home means a lot to me. My table means a lot to me. I want my home to be welcoming and comforting. Why else would God give me that? Why else would my house be a house of peace if it wasn't was to share also? Why else? So I believe that's what He wants, is us to share that. Acts 2:42 talks about how all the disciples and the disciples were teaching, they had fellowship, breaking the bread of prayer. And then Philippians 2:1-2 says, if therefore there is any encouragement in Christ, if there is any consolation of love, if there is any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and compassion, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, maintaining the same love, united in spirit and intent on one purpose. And for me, and I thank God, that one purpose is to know Jesus, to know Him intimately, to abide, to rest, to yield, surrender, trust Jesus. And you can't trust somebody you don't know. And I think it's to make an effort to really know and intimately know Him and live in knowing. Like married, Nick and I have been married 31 years now, and we know each other well. We're still learning each other because we're both learning and we're both growing. But we know each other intimately, and we're going to continue to do that, which is wonderful. And then a friend sent me a book that she's reading, and I was reading these words in there: new songs, new season, new thing, harvest, new realm, new day, new life, spring, resurrection power. And that's something, these words are not new to me. These are words he's been speaking into me for a long time. But it's time now to again to sing that same new song, that same, we've got a new season coming up, a new thing, and to live in the new realm, a new day and a new life. Spring and the harvest, resurrection. And so I'm going to open my home on the first Thursday of every month from 6:30 to 8:30, which they'll probably be here longer than that, but that's okay. But on September 5th, October 3rd, November 7th, and December 5th, I want people to just come and gather in my home. And that's what I've called it. I've called it Gather. Did I even bring my, I don't think I even brought my phone out. That's what I called it, was Gather. Because I want people to come and gather in my house for encouragement, for love, for nourishment, for prayer, and for praise, and enjoyment, and getting to know one another. Intimacy. So my prayer for each and every woman that comes into my home is that they will experience the peace and joy of Christ. They will come in, they will be, and just feel that inside of them. The well-being, the contentment of Christ. And they will go out and they will take that with them wherever they go, into their homes, into their families, into their trials, into their tribulations, into their circumstances. Because it's not about me, it's not about my house, it's about Jesus. And I don't know anything greater in this world. Michael Wells said, there is nothing the nearness of Jesus cannot heal. He also says cannot cure. But I agree with that. Heal and healthy come from the same word. And when you're healed, you're walking healthy. And you're healthy in your mind, you're healthy in your will, and you're healthy in your emotions. You're healthy in truth. You're healthy in longing. You're healthy in desire. You're healthy in purpose. And that's Jesus. To know him intimately. This year, he has said to me, I have never forsaken you, Starla, and I will never forsake you. Do you believe me? This year's been about belief. Do I really believe what he said to me? Do I believe Jesus? Do I believe what he's speaking into me? What he's saying to me? Do I believe? And I'm going to say yes. Yes. Yes, he is going to do exceedingly abundantly more than I can ask or think or even imagine. And he's going to do it inside of me. And he's going to do it through me. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, hope, encouragement, life, all that he is. And you want to go on that journey with me? Do you want to do that with me? Let's take that journey together.